This is Colin O'Keefe here for LXBN TV. Both retailers and the tech giants behind them continue to push mobile payment systems like Google Wallet and Apple Pay. But of course, there's one concern that is often on people's minds. Just how secure are they? Joining me now from Boston to discuss these payment systems adoption and the security behind them is attorney Kyle Crossley of Golston & Storrs and author on the firm's blog, The Retail Law Advisor. Kyle, first off, you wrote on this. What does the adoption of Google Wallet and Apple Pay look like now and in the future? I mean, will these types of systems become more of the norm?
It's a complicated question and a good one, Colin, but thanks, first of all, for having me. To really look at this system overall, it requires looking at where we came from very briefly. So mobile payment systems have been around for a few years. Google Wallet has been around since 2011. But when Apple Pay was introduced, it really accelerated the adoption and the attention that the new part of this retail industry is getting. So I think where we are now, retailers have to have something called a near-field communication device in order to accept payments from Apple Pay or Google Wallet. And that's only about 200,000, maybe 250,000 retailers, which is not the majority by any means in our country. And again, we're only talking about the United States here. There will be quite a surge of acceptance and adoption by retailers in the U.S. come October 1st of this year because credit card companies are doing something they've already done worldwide, which is being referred to as the liability shift. And what that means is they're going to essentially enter contracts with retailers that say, if fraudulent transactions occur and you have adopted near-field communication devices so that these new, more secure types of payments can be accepted by you, then we won't impose liability upon you, and we will accept the liability. So as you can imagine, lots of retailers who currently are holding out on making this capital investment likely will be much more willing to do so come October 1st.
Absolutely. And you, of course, talk about one of the big reasons there being liability and fraudulent payments and that type of thing. And those can come as a result occasionally of things like data breaches. So the question is on everyone's mind, not just for retailers but consumers, is just how secure is this type of technology? Are there data breach concerns with this? Are they worse or are they better than what we might have seen in the past?
So yes, there will always be some level of concern for data breach. But I think the consensus industry-wide here is that each of these types of systems, Google Wallet and Apple Pay specifically, are a step up in security. What that means between the two is that although each of them require an extra level of encryption or decryption, depending upon how you look at it, Apple Pay actually requires an additional level of tech savvy for someone who's hoping to gain access to data. Now, I'll try not to be too technical, not only for our listeners' sake, but for my own limited knowledge sake. Apple Pay has the ability to create a token that replaces the need to store actual credit card data on an iPhone. So what it will do is exchange a token that mimics a credit card with the merchant. The merchant will then interact with the credit card network to decrypt the token so that they get the credit card information and they get their payment. What's unique about Apple Pay is that it does not require any access to the internet or to a cell network in order to be used at a retailer. Google Wallet does require that. It requires access to the cell phone network because Google stores the credit card information on its own servers, which is much like your bank, your credit cards currently. So when people talk about security and points of access that are potential sources of data breach, Google is essentially adding one access point to the list because it stores that information on its own servers. So if you trust your bank, you should probably feel comfortable trusting Google with the same information, the same way that you trust, the big retailers, Target, Home Depot, who have had security breaches. But that's really the difference between the two, is that Google stores your information on its own servers and Apple does not. So for that reason, people tend to think of Apple as being slightly more secure. And in addition, it does require the fingerprint scanner currently, which is a neat feature instead of having to punch in a PIN code, which you do out on Google.
Absolutely. It sounds like Apple has, really got some innovative security that they have going on there. And of course, like you mentioned, October 1st is the big date, so we'll have to see just how much we see consumers take these on. But it sounds like, if the retailers put them out there, Apple, of course, is offering even an extra layer of security. So I see no reason why we wouldn't see a big uptick in adoption in the not-too-distant future. So it'll be interesting to watch for sure.
I agree.
Once again, that was Kyle Crosley of Golston and Stores. For more of his insight on this subject and others in the retail space, be sure to check out their blog. It is at theretaillawadvisor.com. Thank you for joining me today, Kyle.
Thanks, Colin, for having me.